Being a student is meant to be the best time of your life, but this has changed. A recent study shows that depression and anxiety has risen by 15% for students in the UK. There is more pressure now to get a degree than there was 20 years ago.
Mainly because of money reasons. Like, a student can't really balance having a job and maintaining the workload at the same time.
I think depression's common in students because of anxiety, the pressure of doing well, the pressure from parents, and the pressure to get a job after uni when it doesn't necessarily work like that.
So apart from the financial pressure, what else could be causing depression in young adults? Sandra Ware is a counsellor at Selby College. She says that new demands like social media play a big part.
Social media is certainly a factor. There's quite a lot of cases of cyberbullying that come through, and issues on Facebook, and obviously it's on there and all the people in college know, so it's a real issue for people. Obviously with the sort of mobile phones, news gets around like everything. So there's a lot of technical stuff in terms of bullying.
Members of the public agree with Sandra that social media can make people feel bad about themselves.
Well, I think it's because of things like social media, people comparing themselves to a stranger on Instagram that they kind of idolise when these actually aren't realistic expectations. You don't know how people are feeling and how people actually are. You just look at somebody's Instagram and get depressed that you're not like them because they're how you want to be.
Depression is more than just feeling sad. The mental illness causes you to see everything in a negative light. Stacey suffered from depression when she was only 18 years old.
I think it was triggered by my grandma dying, and then it was just like a series of events after that, really. Nothing seemed to be going right, and it just all built up, and I didn't talk to anyone about it, and it just got worse, really. It's just feeling unmotivated, tired, obviously the feeling of being depressed, just sad, and you don't really want to get up on a morning. You find it hard to get on with everyday life, really.
From a scientific point of view, depression is an imbalance of chemicals in the brain. Over the phone, I spoke to Sarah Billingsley, who is a junior doctor, about what happens to the brain when you have depression and anxiety.
One of the reasons suggested for mental illness in a biological term is an imbalance of neurotransmitters. One of the major neurotransmitters thought to be involved in particularly depression and also to a lesser extent anxiety is serotonin. The idea that serotonin is reduced in patients that have depressive episodes and depressive illnesses is one that we have used for a very long time in the scientific community.
At least 115,000 students are seeking help through a counsellor. This is a 20% year-to-year increase. Sandra has also noticed more students wanting help.
I do a report every year that goes to the management meeting, and the increase was substantial. I haven't got the figures on the top of my head, unfortunately. A lot more males coming into counselling, which is quite unheard of, so that's increased massively. And last year there were more male students coming than female students. So yeah, it is increasing, and this year particularly, at the time of enrolment, students were asking to be put forward for counselling at enrolment.
So how can depression and anxiety be cured? Sarah explains the best treatments.
As well as drugs that help to increase the levels of these chemicals in the brain, we also recommend as a medical community to use psychological therapies to help stop maladaptive thinking mechanisms, particularly in modern day life where the stresses and strains are not ones that are likely to go away.
The main forms of treatment for depression and anxiety are counselling sessions and antidepressants. But the most important thing that helps is talking to someone.
I spoke to my GP first, and then I was referred for some counselling. I spoke to my boyfriend about it after I'd been referred. I didn't speak to any of my family until after I'd recovered from it, because I didn't want them to worry or anything.
Any mental illness is a serious matter, but seeing your GP is the first step to recovery.